So when they tell you there's no fraud, why do you always talk about fraud, Tony? My gosh, you're always saying that there's fraud going on in the vote, and there's no fraud. There's no any proof of fraud, and never any proof of fraud. We're going to point you to New Jersey and tell all of those people to sit down and be quiet. The argument has always been that if you are not watching who is registering to vote, if you are not ensuring that only American citizens can vote, if you do not have voter ID, if you allow this willy-nilly mail-in balloting, what you will get is the opportunity for fraud. And when opportunity exists, people take the opportunity. Why would we assume that somehow human nature doesn't exist? It is an embarrassing thing to witness, to watch, to observe these people lie as they do, as if somehow it never happens. But it did happen. The number of people who registered to vote in New Jersey as non-citizens, well, it's not so much the number, it's the time frame that's going to get you. Tony Katz today, an absolute pleasure, guys. Glad you are all here. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com and check out the live stream on YouTube and Rumble. Tony Katz on the Twitter, X, they call it there. Tony Katz and Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. Marco Rubio. I never know if it's at is it ASEAN? Is that what we call it? The Association of Southeast Asian Nations? It's an event that happens every year, every couple of years. You know, they have these groups that come together and talk about how they can better their economic opportunities, right? We've got the G7 summit, and then you've got the BRICS nations. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and what is the S in BRICS? Wait, what am I missing? I'm missing one. South Africa joined in 2011. There it is. And then they added other nations like Egypt and Iran and the UAE, some guys they know. Nothing weird about it. Anyway, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is there. And he was answering some questions. I haven't had a chance to hear it. So, depending on when you get the show, podcast, whatever. So this is all just happening. So I have not heard any of it. I want to hear what he's going to get into. So I got him right here. Let's listen for a moment. The problem with that conversation, Mr. Secretary, and it's not that I think any of us disagree. If you're going to talk about, you're going to be there with these Asian nations and you're going to be talking about the importance of having a relationship with China. It's that it also has to include the punishment for China. If we are to take President Trump at his word last Thursday, basically a week ago, if we are to take him at his word, that China indeed tried to interfere in our elections, right? If that is the case, then the question before us is, what's the punishment? What is the punishment right there? What is it that's going to happen? If you're going to tell us the importance of having a relationship with China, what about when China is stealing voter data and is trying to infiltrate elections? Would we just simply look the other way if it was the Russians? Never try and sneeze in the middle of a radio broadcast, everybody. Very, very difficult. And for the live stream, not so attractive. Whoo! That was a rough one, too. There has to be a response to what it is that China has done. It can't just be, well, we got to keep up the relationship. There must be a response. I think that response should be not allowing Chinese nationals to be students in the United States. That's my take. Well, let's bring it back to the secretary. The next question that's being put up there.
And they come in the aftermath of the visit we took to China earlier this year, and so we did discuss that. Yes.
So Russia's Lavrov revealed that he's going to be meeting with you tomorrow.
Yeah.
If that happens, are you going to press him on Ukraine, or are you simply?
No, we're gonna. I don't know if the term is press him. We're going to talk about it. Obviously, the war in Ukraine, I think, has in many ways impeded the ability of Russia and the United States to find areas of agreement on other topics. That doesn't mean we won't seek to find other areas of potential cooperation. But by the same token, we'd like to see that war come to an end. We think it would be good for Russia if that war came to an end.
It would be very good for Russia if that war came to an end, because they've absolutely botched every part of that war. The Russians come out of this looking worse and worse by the second. And they know it. And they know it. And there is pressure on the inside. So I just wanted to hear what Marco Rubio had to say as he's there for this summit. Let's get into New Jersey. Let's get into the voter fraud. Let us, and if people want to argue it's not voter fraud, I'll bring the receipts. What the bloody heck would you call it? If not the opportunity for fraud, if not outright fraud. And then, of course, Zoran Mamdani, this Islamist bigot. Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal. No, he's not. He shouldn't be the prime minister anymore. Oh, I think the Israelis got to make that point clear. He allowed October 7th to happen. It happened on his watch. He has to be held culpable. That's my take, but he's not responsible. That's Hamas. The same group that the mayor of New York refuses to mention. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today, just working on the show. And sorry about the audio there. I was on a Rubio thing, so I thought it was the same video I was playing. It was just a different page, so that's why it was frozen. And I apologize for that. There's a really interesting piece of data about young, educated, and poor, and why it is that there are a lot of people with postgraduate degrees or degrees in general, and they're not making money. And is that leading to a push amongst the Red Green Alliance folk? They're disenchanted with what America has provided them. Well, maybe the issue is they listen to worthless, lying frauds. I didn't misdirect you on the American dream. Those in the university did. Every one of those professors, every one of those high school counselors, they lied through their damn teeth. Oh, yeah, no, you can get a job in gender studies. No, you get that degree. It's great. Oh, yeah, secondary education, you should get your master's degree. That's what really important. That is going to be part of the conversation today. I think I've got that. I think I've got that. I'm missing something. I'll remember what it is. I'll look through it. Easy enough. Meanwhile, I'm glad you guys are here. And what else do I got? Everything else is pretty good. Tell your friends to get over here. Hit like. Somebody wants a cam on my feet. And even on OnlyFans, I'm not doing that. Now, they're going to tell you not to pay attention to what happened in New Jersey. I am going to tell you to pay attention to what happened in New Jersey. And I'm going to follow it up by saying, oh, is that not New Jersey? I thought that wasn't bad, New Jersey. Yeah, here's Jersey. How's your mother? That's also not bad. That's all. Dude, I spent a lot of years there. I can talk Jersey when I have to. I can make that work. Tony Katz. That's my name. The show is Tony Katz today. Glad you guys are here live streaming on YouTube and Rumble, Tony Katz. Be sure to check it out, like and subscribe and do all of the things. What happened in New Jersey? Well, what happened in New Jersey is that there was a DMV error. You can feel the air quotes punching you in the face. Error. And what happened is that people who were getting a driver's license or an ID card, when asked if you're a citizen, they clicked no. No, I'm not a citizen. Why'd you ask? They're very honest. No, not a citizen. Yet they were still registered to vote. Not citizens, they were registered to vote. They claim, as the governor does, Mickey Sherrill, 6,600 people who indicated they were not U.S. citizens between June of 2023 and June of 2024, almost 3 years prior to my taking office. These individuals answered no when asked on a keypad whether they were U.S. citizens when applying for driver's licenses and identification cards, but through no fault of their own, the system registered them anyway. You don't know if it's through any fault of their own or not. You have no idea what any level of intention was. You got to assume that somebody saying they're not a citizen is trying to be honest, but I don't know what their thoughts were on anything. So let's stop that. Also, who cares if you were governor? The story is not, hey, this wasn't on me. This is on your entire party. Certainly is on Pat Murphy, who was your predecessor, another radical leftist. 2023 to 2024. You mean just gearing up for registering people for a presidential contest? Yeah, I've got that right. I did the math, right? 2023 to 2024. I thought it was 24 to 25. No, it was 2023 to 2024. So you got people in so they could be registered to vote in a presidential election. 6,600 of them. 400 of them did vote. And you say to me, see, it's 6,600, but only 400 voted. You see, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to break the law. Whoa, 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 whoa. Kitten, boo-boo, sweetness, love muffin. Our conversation has, from the beginning, discussed those people interested in fraud, and that on every single conversation piece, it has always been not that you were going to get fraud, it's get the opportunity for fraud. Every time this comes up, the left tells us there is no fraud. It doesn't happen. There's no voter fraud. You made that up. You made every part of that up and every moment, every day. How could one make up that if you are not vigilant, if you don't have voter ID, if you're not checking this, if you're not checking that, you create the opportunity for fraud? Every conversation we have had here is accurate, and there is not a single person in Trollville who can even question it. This happened in New Jersey. That thing they say that never happens just keeps on happening. And now they're trying to engage a very unique spin on it. This was from the Mazemore account on X. This is pretty good. This is Abby Phillip. Abby Phillip, who hosts that show on CNN that had all the promise, that show is unwatchable. Keith Boykin and Anna Navarro, no thanks. It's an unwatchable program. I mean, Scott Jennings made his bones on that program. Scott Jennings is that program. I can't imagine he still wants to do it. Brad Todd, a guy I'd never heard of, does incredibly good work on that program. Pete Seat, who's an Indianapolis guy like me, nice guy, worked in the Bush White House. He holds his own rather well on the show. No thanks. And Abby Phillip keeps trying to position herself as somebody who is above the fray. So Mazemore made this 1-2 punch. Here's the shot.
He's been in office for a full year now. They have not come up with any of this purported evidence of voter fraud. You guys are in search of something that there's been no evidence exists in New Jersey.
Now, no evidence exists. You're just in search of it. You're looking for a problem. Okay? That is the argument of the left. This is the argument now.
Is double checking its voter rolls tonight after a software error added 6,600 non-citizens to the voter rolls. The suggestion that this is fraud suggests that these people were trying to vote. Sometimes what happens is that when state systems are incorrect, people receive information and they are confused. Where some people who are ineligible to vote are not aware that they're ineligible to vote.
Sometimes I am unaware that my back light is out or my turn signal is out and I still get a ticket. Sometimes I am unaware. Sometimes I am simply unknowingly, I've got a broken tail light and I get the ticket, Abby Phillip. Let's discuss the problem with your argument. An argument that we have been dissecting here for months, that we started aggressively after the assassination attempt on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, that led to the killing of Corey Compratore. When you realize that the Secret Service did not have somebody on that rooftop, and then the argument was made by the then Secret Service director, Kim Cheadle. Secret Service didn't have anybody on the rooftop where the shooter was. And then Kim Cheadle said, well, the slope of the roof. Kim Cheadle was not interested in the safety of the president nor any protectee. Kim Cheadle and the Secret Service were interested in making sure they had hired this group here and this type here and this woman over here and that over. That's what they were concerned by. Just like we saw with the fires with LA. They didn't worry about whether or not they could actually fight a fire, whether reservoirs had water. They made sure they hired enough lesbians. There's nothing wrong with a lesbian. There's nothing wrong with a lesbian firefighter if you can do the job. There is something wrong if that's your top qualification instead of can fight fires. People looked at Butler, Pennsylvania, and they're like, this is a conspiracy to kill the president. No. There was no sit down with a pen and paper in some kind of back alley drawing out what they were going to do. That didn't happen. What happened is progressivism put bad people with bad ideas in positions of power where they could hire bad people with bad ideas, all of whom were also incompetent. So when the bad thing happens, it's absolutely what was going to happen. You create all the bad environment and you get the bad result. I believe the programmers call it garbage in, garbage out. That is progressivism. In every single way, the objective is to get people who should not be voting, voting. Any way it can happen, any port in a storm. And Abby Phillip is grasping here. These people didn't even know. They don't know they did anything wrong. The people, in terms of the illegal immigrant or the non-citizen, whatever you want to call it, those are different things, or can be different things, by the way. That's not the subject. That is to avoid the subject. That is Abby Phillip engaging in sophistry. The subject is that New Jersey allowed it and blamed it on a glitch. You blamed it on a glitch. We don't have time for your glitches. You no longer get to do that. You actually have to go register to vote. No more at the DMV. Done. Over. Finished. I don't care if it takes your grandma 10 more minutes. Your grandma's time isn't more important than the vote about who runs the country and how. Sorry. My grandmother's doesn't either. My mother walks with a walker. Sorry, Diane. You better get your butt in an Uber plenty early to get there on time, and you better have your ID with you. And then afterwards, we're going to go out for Chinese food because I want dumplings and you're paying. All right, I'll pay, but we're still going out for dumplings. Yes, that's the way this goes. People may have to do a little bit of work. We got to stop making it easy, stop making it simple in the way that allows for the most amount of fraud to happen. And then these people claim the fraud doesn't happen. And then when it happens, what do they tell us? It's not their fault. No, it's your fault, fraudster. You're the fraudsters. You, the progressive, you're the fraudster. It isn't the fault of the illegal immigrant. It isn't the fault of the non-citizen. It's your fault. We see you. And we blame you. And now we need to take away your power because you can't be trusted. Can't actually run a country with people like you in charge. Look at how foolish you are. Look at how incapable and inept. No. You're out. I'm Tony Katz. And that's that. That is that. I'm turning this on. Hold on. Wow. That is there is a troll comment that's so insane. I want to share it with you. Oh. Oh my gosh. No, it's too dirty. It's no, you gotta go. You gotta go. I let him go. There it is. There it is. But you'll notice how everybody blames it's not their fault. It's not their fault. What are we talking about? It's the progressives' fault. They're the ones who allow it. They're the ones who want it. Not apologizing for noticing. Oh, I do have some Jasmine Crockett to share. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's gotta happen. Gotta happen. We all need some more Jasmine Crockett in our lives. We really do. Science. Well, it's scientific that Jasmine Crockett is the lunatic. Lunatic. Do we want to hear from Vivek Ramaswamy? Vivek is speaking. Oh, that guy's wearing a toupee. I'm just look. I'm not opposed. I'm just saying this guy right here.
Go next door.
That's
My wife of 55 years. That's a long time. Our daughter Jillian and some other good friends of family. Brian's fiance Mary's over here, and all of my OMA friends over here. Thank you all for coming.
Do we want to hear Vivek Ramaswamy talking to manufacturers? That's the question. I'll let you guys decide. The answer is maybe. We haven't heard any Vivek. I don't know. I'm not sure. I am not sure. You know what? I'll go back later and I'll grab it. We will talk about Jasmine Horatio Crockett. I don't know if that's her middle name or not. You think so? Hold on a second. Boom. Boom. There it is. We'll do that. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. Can't thank you. I'd rather hear him than Crockett. Okay, Ann. Okay, you know what? I'll see if I get. I'm going to start with Crockett. I'm going to start because it's hilarious. It's funny because it's real. All right. Coming back in 5 seconds. Some people simply won't go quietly into that good night or gentle into that good night. If I could be so bold. Tony Katz today. Find everything I do at TonyKatz.com. One of those people is Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett. Now, usually it's about this time that I share some Masterpiece Theater. I used to do Jasmine Crockett Masterpiece Theater, and I'd play the music. I'm just skipping the music because the 1-2 punch from the soon-to-be former Congresswoman is really a stunning indictment. It's an indictment of two things. It's an indictment of her as an ignorant woman. Allow me to say it again. Jasmine Crockett is an ignorant woman. Now, she can have this degree and she can have that degree, and she could have won this award and she could have done this thing. But if these are the kind of comments you're going to leave us with, Representative Crockett, ignorant fits. Now you're going to say to me, well, you can't say that because you're a black woman and I'm a white man. You're an ignorant woman, Jasmine Crockett. I'm not at fault for this. How dare you tell me I shouldn't notice? You see, if I didn't notice, I would be an ignorant man. And I just don't want to live my life that way. So I notice things. And what I noticed is that you are an ignorant woman. That's what I noticed. You are what you are, what you are. You don't have to be, because you bring up part of a conversation where I agree with you. You got hosed by white guy James Tallarico and white guy Stephen Colbert. Ho, 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 ho. Yes, you did. Those guys, absolutely, my view, conspired to keep you off of TV and to help James Tallarico get a nomination. That happened. But even in your presentation of that, you can't stop yourself from looking terrible. Unless, of course, your objective is to demand fealty from people who look like you. Let me start where I start. This is Representative Crockett. She is speaking at a hearing. This is House Oversight. And she is asking questions regarding what happened in the World Cup. I don't know why, because this was a conversation about the Smithsonian. I will say without question that the people who are discussing the fact that the Smithsonian has been a politicized institution that was absolutely doing damage to our museums and others in their presentation of history, manipulation of history, abusing those and moments in history. Terrible work from the Smithsonian. There are people who are upset on the left because changes are being made, and they're saying you're trying to whitewash Black history. Absolutely not. That would be unacceptable. We should stop that in every way. But the manipulation of history to fit a woke desire was absolutely happening. I've seen it with my own eyes. If you visited DC, you may have very well seen it with your own eyes as well. And I'm glad that it's being corrected. America is not a racist nor bigoted country. America has a history as complex and as involved as any other country, yet we move daily towards the more perfect union. That should be our story. But when you profit off of everything's terrible and you're always a bigot for your existence, well, you can't ask them to change that. That's how they profit. And that's why, and I'll say it again, we have to win elections and they have to lose elections. I am a big believer in this theory of, you've heard Trump say this before, too big to rig. You got to overwhelm. So many people have to come out to vote that they simply can't fake that many votes. You can't make it easy on them. Tony, are you saying elections are rigged? I am saying that large-scale voter turnout on the political right or for those who are not progressive loons is better for America. That's what I say. But this is Representative Crockett. This is a House Oversight hearing regarding the Smithsonian, and she wants to bring up the World Cup, Argentina versus Spain, and racism. Let's go.
Recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Much better.
The World Cup that captured the imaginations of the entire world when they saw all of these people of color that was playing for all these teams. And ultimately, if you recall, the last two teams, it was Argentina and Spain. And it seemed like the vast majority of the world was rooting for Argentina, or actually against Argentina, right? And why was that? Just give me an explanation if you could guess, if you'll just let them finish the answer.
Spain had the best team. Maybe that's why they were rooting for them.
There's also a racist history that exists.
Mr. Byer, you're recognized.
What? They rooted against Argentina, or was it for Argentina because they're racist or they're not racist? What is she doing? Now, I'm not going to spend any time going through the history of Argentina nor Spain. I'm going to go back to Representative Crockett and ask, what the hell are you talking about? The Argentine fans are all racist. The Spanish fans are all racist. People who wanted Messi to get another World Cup are racist. People who wanted to see Spain and this young kid and the future of soccer, they're also, can we go back to, you think the World Cup was about watching people of color? The World Cup was about kick-ass soccer. It was outstanding. The final, Spain and Argentina loses to Spain 1-0 in extra time. It was actually a rather uneventful game. Argentina did not play well, and I can't understand it. No shots on goal, no shots on target, nothing. Very, very, very weird. The World Cup was exceptional. I don't care if you like soccer or not. It means nothing. The World Cup in the United States, with a little assist from Mexico and Canada, it was exceptional. It was remarkably done. Fox knocked it out of the park in its coverage. Now, I did not mind Zlatan in the booth. I have a little issue understanding Henry in the booth. I like Alexi Lawless. I like to see him a little more animated. Carly Lloyd was fantastic. They were great. They weren't good. They were great. And it was, bars were full. The money flowing in was amazing. And of course, all the people recognizing that America is awesome. Everything they were told about America being a lie. We were lied to about this, lied to about that. Look at the food here, the people there. Look at the beauty here. This place is amazing, incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. Come back soon now, you hear? Absolutely. It was a knockout for America. Knockout for the United States. Really stupendously well done. Oh, and the Iranian team was upset that they didn't get to stay in the U.S. They had to fly back to Mexico after every game. See? Everything worked out terrific. People of color. I watched Congo because they were playing amazing soccer and you were rooting for them. Never once did anybody think, my gosh, I did not know black people could play soccer so well. Jasmine Crockett, what the hell's wrong with you? The Ivory Coast, they were crushing. It was amazing to see them to get into the round of 32. It was cool. There was some underdog stuff. It was awesome. And the United States, which killing me how they went out to Belgium, but they would win, and now you've got 80,000 people singing Take Me Home, Country Road. I'm sorry, spectacular. And no one said, look at all these people of color. No one. You weirdo, race-obsessed freak. Which brings us to a part 2 on Jasmine Crockett, where she's at an event. I think it's called the World Black Forum. I don't know. Guess you could do anything you want, right? There could be a World Black Forum. There's a Republican Jewish coalition. There's a Christian this. That part doesn't bother me at all. But when she starts talking about the race for Senate, where she lost the primary to James Tallarico in Texas, and bigotry and all the rest, well, that's going to require our attention.
So for me, I am going to be working everywhere. The best thing that I can do for James Tallarico isn't me standing on a stage with him. It is the fact that I endorsed 5 candidates in the runoff who all happen to be black men in the state of Texas, and every single one of them won, and they're going on to November.
Now, when you endorsed these black men, were any of them conservatives? Were any of them conservatives? Would you endorse a conservative black man? Because you seem to be telling everybody at this World Black Economic Forum that the thing that matters is, of course, the color of their skin, not anything about what their belief system is or philosophy, politics, etc. So if all that matters is color of skin, if you are a black conservative, can you get the endorsement of Jasmine Crockett? Yes or no? If the argument is, as long as we get black people elected, that's all that matters, I think it's a peculiar argument, because it was my grandmother, rest her soul, Ethel, sweet Ethel, who told me I should vote for Al Gore because Joseph Lieberman was Jewish. And I looked at my grandmother there on Neptune Avenue in Brooklyn, New York, and I looked at Ethel and I said, Grandma, you got any more potato salad? Because I was not going to entertain this madness of politics with my grandmother. She was my grandmother. And I really liked the potato salad because it was delicious. No, I didn't vote for Joseph Lieberman just because he was Jewish. What a cocked and nonsense thing to say. It's exactly what Jasmine Crockett is saying here.
Meaning that they will pull out more black people to vote. People keep trying to say, well, Jasmine has to go and hold his hand. No, I don't. And don't worry about my math and how it works in my mind. Because the reality is that if you can give people more than one thing to vote for, then you have a better chance of getting them out to the polls. And honestly, some people just not going to be sold on certain people that are running in the state of Texas.
So your argument now is black people only vote for black people because they're racist. I heard it. You heard it. Is that what she said? And the answer is yes. You want to talk about Tallarico and bigotry and him and Stephen Colbert absolutely working together to hose you? I think that happened, Representative Crockett. You think that black people only vote for black people? That's messed up. If you think black people should only vote for black people, that's KKK messed up. And we noticed because we're not ignorant, like some people who will remain Jasmine Crockett. This is Tony Katz today. That's who I would use as well. Sorry. Producer Landon and I are discussing IndyCar. If you didn't know, Landon is an IndyCar freak, and he was down in Nashville for the race, which he said it was very hot. And so the word is that for all of you IndyCar people, that Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing is going to sell off one of its charters. So instead of 3 drivers, they'll go down to 2. Dreyer Reinbold, they are now picking up that charter. So they're now going to have a full-time driver, full-time car. And so the question is, who could they get to run for them? And I was thinking it, Landon said it, Connor Daly, who is from this area, out of Noblesville, is to us the clear choice. This is a local guy. This is a local Dreyer Reinbold is a local car dealership of BMW and Infiniti, Mini Cooper. They've got some other stuff, I believe. And so there's that connection that you get to use. And Connor Daly is a huge fan favorite, certainly around here, massive. And he had a nice run in the 500, in the Indy 500. The wrong strategy, and a little bit of it not his fault. The yellows, I think, played into abusing his strategy quite a bit. But a fan favorite, he was my pick to win the 500. Great opportunity there. Great opportunity. And I think he's the choice. Who else could it be, Landon? So he's got Mick Schumacher and Rinus VeeKay on the short list. Rinus VeeKay I could get. Schumacher I wouldn't have an opinion. I would not know. I would not actually know. Because Dixon's leaving Ganassi and heading over to McLaren. That's right. So it's not going to be Nolan Siegel, although I like Nolan Siegel. Right? Landon has specific thoughts on Nolan Siegel. I don't. Jeffrey has it. The new driver for Dreyer Reinbold is Sophie Cunningham. Is she going to be the pace car driver? She should be. I will tell Dreyer Reinbold this. If it's Connor Daly, oh God, I'm gonna commit myself to something. I'll get it done. I'll figure it out. If it's Connor Daly, I want to put a sticker on the car, and it's going to be a Sophie Cunningham pointing, and it's going to say, "Listen to Tony Katz." I'll pay the 5 digits for that. Done. A headline that bothered me greatly until I paid attention was over at the Wall Street Journal, and it was a discussion of how Saudi Arabia is going to get a nuclear program backed by the United States. And I said, hey, that's not a great idea. This is a conversation about realpolitik. Tony Katz today. Glad you're here. Check out the live stream. Come join, like, subscribe, do all the things. Working on blowing this up. You are the people who can help. Head over to YouTube and Rumble Tony Katz, Facebook Tony Katz Radio, Twitter X Tony Katz, and get in there. It is a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia that's in the billions of dollars. It's a 30-year deal. And so this is going to allow uranium enrichment in Saudi Arabia. And you're like, why would we allow this? Why would we put them on some kind of path that could allow them a nuclear capability? When you read into the article, it's that a key provision of the accord would have U.S. companies build a uranium enrichment facility in Saudi Arabia if a joint U.S.-Saudi study determines such a step would be warranted, and it will. This is about shutting out China. This is the continued move from the president to rethink and recreate the Middle East as the stronghold of the United States, not of China. And for all those people who they don't want to get involved and we shouldn't be doing this and we shouldn't be doing that, that's fine. But China is doing all the things and Russia is still trying to do all the things. You can either thwart it or you can succumb to it. That's reality. I haven't forgiven the Saudis for September 11th, but I live in this world right now. And they're going to get nuclear enrichment capability somehow. Is it going to be us or is it going to be from the Chinese? So we said, let it be us. And it allows us to have people in the area, and it allows us to have better opportunities for lower gas prices and oil prices. And it allows us a foothold, a step closer to the communist Chinese. Now it makes sense that we sold them the F-35 strike fighter and the M1 Abrams tank. It all comes together. No, I don't like it. But the world is not doing things you like. It's doing the things it does. And what is our plan within it? So, this is actually a good move, as much as we may be bothered by the move. And keeping China on the outs is better for all of us. This is Tony Katz today. All right. Let us do the following. We are in the commercial break right now. It's fascinating with the live stream. Sometimes the numbers jump off the page, and sometimes it's like, what's going on? There must be a boosting system and I have not figured out what it is yet. There must be a way to grab more reach. Drives me nuts. Everything else is going really terrific. The shorts do well. The videos are nice, and we're building subscribers. It's fantastic. Fantastic. And I love it. It's just only on the live stream. And I love the action in the chat room, and some of the trolls are, ridiculous freaks. But in the end, it's just, it's the next step. It's the next thing I'm working on in terms of how we get growth. How do we build this mother out? So anybody who's got any thought on how that works, things they've seen work, I'm all ears. All ears to get that going. But I love that you guys are here. I love the amount of help and everything else. Yes, if I got Sophie on the live stream, it would help. It would help. I don't know. Let's producer Landon, would you do me a favor and reach out to Sophie Cunningham, see if we can get her on the show? Right? That would be you are not DMing her. You have never slid into her DMs. Right? So hold on, wait. What is Dusty saying? Are you saying? Hold on. In the AM, I searched Tony Katz WIBC. You pop up. In the afternoon, I type Tony Katz live. It used to come up to your channel, but no longer. It goes to the WIBC channel. Is that right? If you go to YouTube, hold on a second. Let me see if I could spell right. And you go and you search Tony Katz. WIBC comes up. That's weird. Why don't I come up? Oh, you got to type in Tony Katz today? That's super weird. But WIBC also comes up. Yes. Okay. No, not all of them. Some of them are WIBC. I got to work on this. I don't know how to fix that. Interesting. And then there's days like today where nobody's watching in the mobile when usually that's got more people to it. So there's a way, and we got to figure it out. We're in it. Here's the deal, guys. We are in commercial break, right? We are in commercial break. Hey, Brad, don't use fancy words. If you know how to fix it, just fix the thing. Just fix it. Fancy words with your SEO and your meta tags. Your mom's a meta tag. That's just rude. Brad's my videographer, by the way. So that is what he does in my videos. He makes me look thin. If you can figure it out, man, I'm all ears. We'll take the quick break. Hang loose, smoke them if you got them, guys, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz today. Vivek is speaking. Let's see. He's been speaking for a while, too. I don't know if anybody wants this much Vivek.
Take Ohio to the next level as the manufacturing capital of the world. That's what's coming soon. And Bill, I want to thank you and the entire Sopko family, your children, your entire family who are here. Give the Sopko family another round of applause here at Stamco Industries, a great company. This is really what it's all about. And I'll kick this off by sharing with you why I'm in this on a deeply personal level. I'm in this because I am grateful to this state and to this country for giving a guy like me opportunities that would not have been available in any other country on planet Earth, actually. It's what makes America the greatest country in human history. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, as the kid of Indian immigrants who came from South.
We'll maybe catch up with him later. This Nate Silver stuff is fascinating, and I want to get to that. So I am going to go get to that. Coming back right now. Many of you may have seen the video put out by the Islamist Zoran Mamdani, where he refers to Benjamin Netanyahu as a war criminal. Benjamin Netanyahu is not a war criminal. You don't have to like the man. But Israel was attacked by Hamas, a terrorist organization, and yes, helped by Palestinians. Nobody wants to talk about it, but reality is reality. Helped by Palestinians who were involved in the brutality against Israeli citizens, who helped hide the hostages so they would not be found, so they continue to be tortured as they spent over a year, in many cases, in captivity. Mamdani, looking at the International Criminal Court like it in any way matters. And because he is an Islamist, this is not a debatable subject. I'll say it in front of him. I'll say it in front of his wife. I'll say it in front of his mother. He's an Islamist and he's a bigot. This is not shocking to anybody who's paid any attention to Zoran Mamdani. And yes, I'm bothered that I have to spend this much time talking about the mayor of New York. I'm a little more bothered that the people of New York are absolutely so daft and so ignorant as to vote for a man like this. And as for my people, the liberal Jews, I will once again remind them that they are the dumbest people who ever lived. Outside of liberal white women, you're it, kitten. Toda rabah. Mamdani, making his video like he is the president of the United States. It looks more like he is some kind of dictator out of a South Park film.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of a horrific genocide against the Palestinian people. He is responsible for the killing of more than 73,000 people, for the maiming of tens of thousands of children as those who survive undergo amputation without anesthesia, for the targeting of neonatal hospitals and maternity care centers, denying newborns even the chance to live, for the countless people he starved as he blocked food and humanitarian aid from reaching them, for the gunning down of hundreds of aid workers and journalists. And just last month, the UN confirmed that Palestinian children continue to be deliberately targeted and killed by Israeli armed forces, more than 8 months after the so-called ceasefire. The list goes on and on.
Can we talk about the list you just put out? You absolute liar, you Bond villain. Israel is not guilty of any genocide, and we have already proven this time and time again. If you wanted to engage in a genocide against the Palestinians, you wouldn't pass out polio vaccines, nor would you identify, hey, these are the places we're going to bomb and the times we're going to bomb them. You may want to leave. Case closed. You absolute weirdo, lying freak lowlife. Bombing hospitals? You mean where Hamas was hiding out, because Hamas hides behind children and the sick and the elderly because they're coward terrorist lowlifes, and that's what you support. Maybe it's what you identify with. When you talk about journalists, you mean the journalists who were working for Hamas? I wouldn't even deny that in a war, journalists could have been hurt and or killed. Targeting journalists? Stupid. Hamas is the one that took the food. But all of this was a pretext. Remember, it's Hamas who kept the food from the people. They don't care about the people. They cared about the people. They wouldn't have ripped the pipes out of the ground when Israel gave the Palestinians the land. And then they elected terrorists, and they said, we don't have to worry about growing crops. We'll tear the pipes out of the ground so we have missile launchers. And you'll note that in his conversation, if I play for you the whole thing, this disgusting, despicable human being named Zoran Mamdani, that no one should respect because he has nothing to respect. He never mentions October 7th and the murder of 1,200 Israelis and others. He doesn't mention the rape. He doesn't mention setting people on fire. He doesn't mention the captivity. He doesn't mention the abuse. He doesn't mention the sexual abuse. None of it. I'm telling you now that the Red-Green Alliance is in full swing, because what Mamdani is saying here is that he has to go and get Benjamin Netanyahu when he comes to New York, because the International Criminal Court has deemed him a war criminal.
All as we, as Americans, pay for the bombs that do the killing. There is a reason the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for his arrest. As human beings, we have spent generations building a shared understanding that there are crimes so grave they offend all of humanity. Anyone with their eyes, with their heart, with their conscience should recognize the devastation he has wrought and understand that he belongs before a court of law.
If we want to talk about devastation, we need to talk about communists like Mao, Stalin, Lenin. That devastation, that's real devastation. He wants to arrest Netanyahu when Netanyahu comes to New York for UN meetings. But he looked at all the available opportunities and he said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just not able to do this. I can't arrest him. I'm not given the power to do so. Not given the power to do so. Yeah, we know. We are fully aware, Zoran. We're fully aware that you don't have that capability. And then he goes on to say that Benjamin Netanyahu is not welcome in New York. He might as well just say Jews aren't welcome in New York. Everyone gets the message. But remember, he is not solely and exclusively an anti-Semite. This is about the destruction of Western civilization. He's fine with people being raped as long as he likes the people doing the raping. It's like Bernie Sanders supporting Graham Plattner. Rape is bad unless it's my guy doing the raping, in which case you should be honored. Yeah, they're really that sick. I'm sorry it has to be said so clearly. Maybe they weren't clear enough. Wait, they totally were. And then Mamdani is asked about this. And he's asked whether the law from the International Criminal Court or some international law should supersede the laws here in the United States. What do you think he said?
About why Netanyahu specifically is often targeted in some of your comments. For example, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, he was arrested for a warrant that was here in the U.S. and you were very against that. So I guess how do you place more emphasis on the warrants that were issued by the International Criminal Court than here in the U.S.? How do you reconcile those two?
I would say that the International Criminal Court is a body that seeks to hold those across the world accountable for crimes against humanity, for war crimes, for things of that nature. And I think that the United States should not only be a party to that court, but should also execute the warrants that that court issues. And what I have spoken up about Nicolas Maduro, who I've also described appropriately as a dictator, is that the violation of international law is one that has to also be taken very seriously. It stems from the same belief in the International Criminal Court. And now he is here in New York City. On that day when the United States did violate international law, I made clear that I was in opposition to that. And it all stems from the same belief in how can there be a sanctity in something beyond an understanding of the world where might is right. And
let's make sure we understand each other. When we see this from Zoran Mamdani, what he is saying is we should be subservient to international law. This is his argument. How could it not be? It's the exact argument from the communists. It's the exact argument from the Islamist. That we are the problem and all of these other things are the way out. All these other things are the good and important things. And you have younger generations who buy into this. What else do they buy into? They buy into the idea that somehow they've been done wrong. And I would put forth to you that they have been done wrong. But they believe they've been done wrong by capitalism because that's what they were taught. High school teachers, college teachers, culture, done wrong by capitalism. I got John Leguizamo coming out now. I'm a democratic socialist. You're just a commie, John. And you are an incredible story, and yet you screwed it all up. The country gave you everything. You worked your butt off for it. You did the one-man shows. They were something else. You became a star, an unlikely star. And what'd you do? You turned your back on it all. That's what you did. Don't worry. It's a story that repeats itself. Story that repeats itself. How does this keep happening? Well, there's a really interesting story that Nate Silver has over there at something called the Silver Bulletin, which is his Substack. And it's called the DSA Sweet Spot, highly educated, downwardly mobile. And you're like, what in the world does that mean? Now, I've got this on the live stream, but I'm going to fully explain it to you. Check this out. This requires a little bit of attention. So what Nate Silver did, Nate Silver was 538 blog. Nate Silver is good with the numbers. He's not always perfect. Please don't get me wrong, but this is really interesting. Nate Silver is looking at the share of two-way vote going to Democratic presidential candidates 2016 into 2024 elections. So when you take a look at the data that he is putting out, this is taking a look at people who have postgraduate degrees and taking a look at their income levels, right? Postgraduate degrees and income levels. When you take a look at this, it has high school or less, some college, 4-year college, right? A bachelor's degree and postgrad, a master's or something else. I, by the way, am in the some college. I never graduated college, in case you didn't know that. And it will show that there are that the numbers of people in the groups and the money that they're making. Right? So it has under 30,000, 30 to 60,000, 60 to 100,000, 100,000 to 200,000, and $200,000 a year plus. Right? Those are the groups that are in there. And I'll read it again for the people in the cheap seats. This is showing how people with postgraduate degrees, how they are doing economically, right? So if you take a look at the numbers show that even those people $30,000 to $60,000 a year, you have got more people postgraduate degrees in the $30,000, $60,000 a year than you have postgraduate degrees in the $200,000 a year. It's really interesting numbers. And it's worth studying and it's worth reading the piece on. But it tells a story that is most unique. And it tells a story about how if you were to take a look at Democrats and the biggest voting group in America, or the most Democrat voting group in America, are people with postgraduate degrees but lower to middle income. So when you take a look at a number that's like 70% postgraduate degree making $30,000 to $60,000 a year, there's a way to look at that. And the way to look at that is these people were told, go to college, get a degree, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is the way the system. And they worked the system, but they didn't get financially rewarded for it. Did they? Don't get me wrong, they make a living, but they didn't get what they were promised. Now, I asked my son about this, my oldest about this, and what he said was, well, this is the kind of data that shows that America hasn't lived up to its promise. It can be seen that way, that America hasn't lived up to its promise, and that's why younger people are disaffected. I thought that was a very interesting take, because that's certainly something that would be sold to people. Look at that. America isn't doing what they said they would do for you, and there's no movement in America, and there's no growth in America, and that's why capitalism fails, and that's why we need, because these people did you wrong, and we need socialism so we can right the wrongs and we can distribute things fairly, and the rich people aren't paying their fair share. You see how that can work? This large propensity of people with postgraduate degrees, and they're not making six figures, and things didn't work out the way they were told they were going to work out. And they're angry and they're upset. And here comes socialism, communism to say, here are the people to blame. Here's the people to blame. And all that money, it could go to you. It's going to Israel and their bombs against poor brown children. And that's how they sell it. I made the argument that I think it's very possible it is indeed sold that way. The problem is it leaves off the hook the universities and the high schools and those counselors and everybody else who said, oh yeah, that gender studies degree, great degree. The university just wanted to get paid because it's a business that doesn't give a damn about the student at all. And that's true at the vast majority of universities. And if the vast majority of universities want to disagree with me, they're more than welcome to, but I'm going to laugh at them. You sold these people a bill of goods. You sold their parents a lie while they write you $70,000 a year checks for a garbage degree where you indoctrinate the kid, actually the adult. Then they go into the world and you realize there's nothing for them. That is, if they go into the world, because oftentimes they already go in thinking there's nothing for me anyway. And that's because those white capitalists stole it from me and I have to change the system in order to bring justice. That's what Nate Silver's talking about here. And when you're angry at the world and you're looking for somebody to blame it all on, and you have no concept of history, and you've been lied to about history, and you were told Howard Zinn was history, you listen to Zoran Mamdani talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, and you're like, oh, that's absolutely right. Full circle on that one. Yeah, we've got a real problem. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. That's the name of the show. Just taking a look at what's going on and what's happening out there in the big city. President Trump attending the dignified transfer ceremony at Dover Air Force Base. That has taken place. Let me see this right here. No. Got it. Perfect. Fantastic. What do you guys got? Am I missing any stories? Is there anything I should be talking about that I'm not? Just getting stuff together. There's that. There we go. Perfection. Do that right there. President Trump with the ultimatum for the drug companies. You've got 2 years or you got 200%. Tony Katz today. Guys, great to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Putting out a post there on the Truth Social saying that imported generic drugs will continue to face a 0% tariff beginning August 1st for 2 years. Then after a year, that tariff goes up to 100%. And then after that, after 2 years, up to 200%. Saying, quote, this is done in order to reshore generic pharmaceutical production into America, with a penalty to those companies that decide not to build plant and equipment within the stated period of time given to them. The objective of this policy is to protect the people of the United States. The policy on patented, branded, or innovative drugs, which has been so successful, will remain as is. Pharmaceutical facilities are being built at a level never seen before all over the United States of America. Nobody's ever seen anything like it before. That's true in some cases. Like, you can't say it about everything, sir. You can't say it about it. You can't walk out of the bathroom and say that was done at levels never seen before. You don't know. Not everything, sir. The problem here is not the concept. You cannot have pharmaceutical manufacturing solely in the hands of the Chinese. You're putting an entire population at risk. It's an insane idea. And I don't mind looking at the pharmaceutical companies and saying, this is your problem. You're going to have to fix it. The issue is you don't want all the pharmaceutical creation in the United States. You want a supply chain that's a bit spread out. So if there's an issue in one place, it doesn't become an issue in another place, and you still have the ability to produce. It is not logistically sound to have all production in the United States. It is logistically and national security valuable to have some production in the United States. And same thing, taking it all out of China. On that, bravo. This is Tony Katz today. All right. I should light up a cigar. You guys can't even see the humidor. No, you can't. It's right over there. It's on the, so though that's a window. And then over there. What I dig about them is that it does look like there's like a backlight behind them. I think that's good. So it's right there. Big, tall, standing mother. I should really go grab one. I really should. Let me go. Hold on. I didn't read it all yet. Mamdani is a dangerous little communist. He is in that office because of some who heard free this and free that, and let's make the rich pay. True. All true. They gave him their vote. We must make sure our elections are only for citizens. Unfortunately, if it remains in place in the future, the babies born here to illegals will be voting as citizens. So this leads to the conversation about Senator Jim Banks and his bill about the Citizenship Act. And I am all in on the concept. Maybe it needs a bit of a rewrite, maybe not. But we need to take a look at those who are called citizens via birth tourism and say that's not a citizen, that's an invading force. Nope, not a one of them is a citizen. Don't care. Sue all you want. Not a citizen. Because the pretense was false. Birth tourism is in and of itself is a false pretense. It's for a purpose. You weren't just traveling, you came for the specific reason to have the baby here. I don't care if China's happy. What do I care about their happiness? Means nothing to me. Could not care if they were angry, upset. So what? You're just not going to be able to abuse. And if we need to fight about this, I say we fight about it. But remember the real story. I think is the recognition that there are way too many people who have no interest in the nation thriving. They really want to see damage done to the nation. And we need to out those people, excoriate those people, and go past those people. This is really hard work. We thought electing Trump the first time would solve this. It didn't. We thought electing Trump the second time would solve this. It didn't. Right? How do you solve a problem like Maria? You need more votes. You need to show people more reality. You got to give them something that they can buy into and believe in. And strength is one of those things. These commies think they're tough. Screw them. Screw them. We have to win. They have to lose. That's the way it has to be. Hassan Piker, tough guy? Bitch, please. What are we talking about? He actually put up in his studio a photo of September 11th and buildings on fire. And he's like, ain't that great? He's screaming about how he wants to see the blood, the streets flow with the blood of capitalists. My gosh. Weird flex. But if you think for a second that we should be scared of and not push back against a guy like this, you're out of your mind. We absolutely should. 3 more things. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. So good to be with you guys. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Watch the live stream. YouTube Tony Katz today. You got the Facebook Tony Katz Radio. You got Rumble Tony Katz. You got Twitter and X Tony Katz. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Glad you're there and get in the chat room. Good people are there. 3 more things. These are stories that should be front page news, but because of all the front page news, they don't get to be front page news. Starting with Rand Paul and his release from the senator that Slack messages, right? So that's an app. Show that the authors of the COVID-19 origin paper had private doubts. That the idea that this came from a wet market and that this was an animal transfer, maybe, but it could have been a leak. It raised doubts that the virus originated from bats. This was published in Nature Medicine in March of 2020. And even though the paper was pushed to say, oh, it means this, the authors were like, well, maybe it means this thing over here. There is no question that data was manipulated. We know that Senator Paul has already issued a subpoena for Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci is not to be trusted at any time or in any way. He lied. He lied about Peter Daszak. He lied about the money to EcoHealth Alliance. Of course, we, the United States, funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Virology Lab in Wuhan, China. We funded this. Our money utilized against us. You want to talk about war crimes, Zoran Mamdani? Take a look at Xi Jinping for unleashing a virus on the world and not only not apologizing for it, not only not warning the world, but immediately buying as much PPE as he could so he could sell it back to the world at a profit. You want to talk about war crimes? What about the enslavement of Uyghur Muslims? If Xi comes to the United States and comes to New York for the UN, will you try to arrest him? You want to talk about war criminals. You want to talk about real murderers. Not the nonsense you invent because you're a fool, because you're a bigot, utilizing the Jews to get to the destruction of America. We see you. It's a boring story. We know it. It's dangerous as hell, but it's still a boring story. Let's see if you'll go after Xi. You said war criminals are not welcome. What about those who enslave Muslims? What does Islamist Zoran Mamdani have to say about the president of China who enslaves Muslims? I'll wait. I got nothing but time. You know how many bottles I've got right here? Here, hold on. I'll show you. This is all right. So this is the Four Roses private selection. This is the OESQ right here, coming in at 111 proof. So we could just sit here and have a drink, and then we can get an answer. We can just wait for an answer from you, Mayor Goodness, Mayor Mamdani. If you're going to go after Benjamin Netanyahu for no war crimes, will you go after Xi Jinping for imprisoning Muslims? Just, I'm assuming you want to double there, Mayor Mamdani. Probably a big glass. Maybe we'll get you a pint glass. You know what? Maybe we'll just give you the bottle and a crazy straw. Let's see how you handle that one right there. I like what Rand Paul is doing. I like the aggression with which Rand Paul is working on this. He has been focused. There is a place for him in the conversation, and it's one of the reasons. You know, Rand Paul does not doctor no like Thomas Massey does. Remember, Thomas Massey would have more people paying attention, first, if he hadn't lost his damn mind. But B, if you could realize that not everything requires a no. Not everything gets a no. Some things can get a no. We're not arguing that. Not everything can get a no. Rand Paul votes no on things. But Rand Paul delivers, man. And his work on Fauci, he should get some recognition from the Republicans. He should get it from Trump. For sure, that this stuff is good stuff, valuable stuff. Then there's the story about the White House moving money towards AI. This is over at the Wall Street Journal. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. And what they are saying is that scientists individually can help the nation move faster to use AI in scientific research. And so what they're doing is they are going to move money to individual scientists rather than to universities. The scientists can help us with the advancement of AI. That advancement of AI can help with growth in this, and this. It's better if we give it to the individual to then work the advancements than give it to the university and deal with their bloat and possibly their graft and Lord only knows what else. They're not moving fast enough. Why aren't we moving quickly. When I first read the story, I asked, what are we moving the money for? And then I went to my normal place, which is, well, how much money are we giving these damn universities anyway? How much money should these universities be getting? Well, Tony, they do very important research. No. They say they're doing very important research. I have no idea if they're doing very important research. And the people screaming they do very important research have no idea if they're doing very important research either. Glad we all understand that. This overhaul, according to the author, Amrita Ramkumar. There we go. It's going to reshape $200 billion in spending a year. You have Michael Kratsios, who is the director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, saying over the last 20 or 30 years, we've become very stagnant in believing we should keep funding the same research in the same way at the same institutions. That's good. This is accurate. And this is a great example of the differences between Trump and this team and the political left. Trump and this team are asking, how else can we think about something? Now, it's not that I always agree, but they're asking the question. What the left is saying is, don't ever mess with the system because that system gets us paid. USAID was nothing more than a money grab. You're letting children starve in Africa. No, we are not letting children starve in Africa. You can argue that some programs got shuttered. I can ask why we had that program to begin with. If that program matters so greatly, can't we fund it through another mechanism? Does it have to be USAID? Show us the program. Explain to us why it's so important. You might get a whole bunch of agreement, and then we'll fund the program. Ta-da! You want a program that I would shutter immediately and move into other programs? Okay. The Department of Homeland Security. I don't need a Department of Homeland Security at all or in any way. It should be moved back into the Department of Defense. Some of it moved into Treasury. We don't need it. It is unnecessary. It is bloat. It's bloat. We can cover these things in other ways. We don't need this. This was a reaction to September 11th, and here we are 25 years later. 25 years later. That's unbelievable. You know, very rarely in my life do I look at time and say, wow, that went so quick. Oh, it's going so fast. People say that at a certain age. They say that, my gosh, everything's going so fast. Oh, the kids are so grown, everything. I don't feel that way ever. And never, ever do I feel that way. I think time is going exactly as it's always gone. But for anybody who experienced September 11th, I did living in Washington, D.C., it is a bit of a, wow, well, that happened. But you're thinking of yourself right now versus then, as opposed without thinking of all the things that happened in the middle. And a lot happened in the middle. A lot. And hopefully it was at least some good stuff in there. So you shouldn't be like, oh, the time went so fast. What's happened? A lot happened. And if you don't feel enough happened, well, you know what? There's tomorrow. Go make a lot happen. Or right now. Go to it. But changing the way we think, changing the way we operate, I like it. I'm a huge fan of it. Then there's Caitlin Clark, who will not participate in the WNBA three-point competition. WNBA is despondent because she didn't participate in 2024. She was injured in 2025. Now she's not participating. That's rough. That's the money, and now it won't be there. What's the point of NBA All-Star Weekend? It's going to get hard to get people to pay attention to this stuff. without the money, which isn't Angel Reese. It's Caitlin Clark. And more, certainly members of the Indiana Fever, Lexi Hull and Aaliyah Boston. But more and more, it's Sophie Cunningham. Everybody gets the idea that she was already becoming a darling. And then the point, she does the point. And everyone's like, this is the greatest thing I ever saw in my life. And people are wondering, why won't the WNBA capitalize on this? The WNBA said, yeah, we're not putting out gear and licensed merchandise with that photo. We're not doing it because it was a taunting and this and that. We're not going to have it. The WNBA is correct. The WNBA is correct that is not something that you market with the WNBA. Absolutely, it is something that the Indiana Fever should market. And you don't even have to market it with the point, although it is a meme. She did a basketball camp right here near where I live. She did a basketball camp for girls, and some of the girls were part of the Special Olympics, and every girl wanted to take a picture with her doing the point. Can't deny the popularity. But the Fever should not be fools. It should be the Indiana Fever. That's the point. Indiana Fever, get to the point. Indiana Fever, on point. Everybody knows what it is. And for Indiana, for Hoosiers, this can be institution. Everybody will know what it is. And when you do it now, and you got to do it a little bit down. You got to do it a little bit down. Everybody knows what you're talking about. So no, the WNBA is correct. You're not going to market it for the league. Doesn't mean the Fever can't do the marketing. You got to do smart things. And a smart thing is protecting your data, because there are thousands of places on the internet that have a file with your name on it. It's got your home address and cell phone number. It's got your email address, and it's got your medical conditions, your age. You know, it has your kids' names, which is nuts. Now, you can't read this file. You don't even know where to find the file, but anyone with a credit card can buy it. It's part of a multi-billion-dollar product, an industry called data brokers, and your file is collected, packaged, it's sold, it's all legal, and all those phishing texts that they know way too much about you, these scam calls, that's someone who has paid for your file. And last year, Americans lost $20 billion to this fraud. The scammers aren't getting lucky. They got prepared. You need to be prepared. Do something about your file like I did. I use Incogni. Incogni goes broker by broker, forces each one of them to delete your file. You know those opt-out forms that they bury? Well, Incogni finds those. And when your data tries to creep back, Incogni wipes them again. Go to Incogni, INCOGNI, Incogni.com/cats right now for 60% off. Promo code CATS, KATZ, Incogni.com/cats. Take your private life off the market utilizing Incogni right now. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. Good to see you here. What am I? Am I on Newsmax at 6:15 tonight? Am I on? Hold on. I got it right here. No, that's not it. There it is. 6:20. 6:20. I will be on this evening. So look for that. I will be very entertaining. Very much so. There we go. Right there. Right there. We're gonna get rid of that. Now we're good there. I was gonna look for something. There we go. But I was going to. So I was going to say something, then realized I probably shouldn't, so I didn't. What is a coin pusher, Pete? I can appreciate the nap. Nap sounds amazing. Sounds terrific. What's a coin pusher? Sneeze. Woo. Is it allergies? Are there allergies going on? I don't know if you categorize this in just weird stories or things you weren't expecting. A missing Pan Am flight was found. Tony Katz today. An absolute pleasure to be with you. 74 years ago, a plane crashed off the coast of Puerto Rico. 52 people were killed. They never found the plane until June 2nd, 2026. 2,000 feet down, broken into two sections. They used high-resolution sonar, autonomous underwater vehicle. This was 1952. The Clipper Endeavor. 5 crews, 64 passengers going to New York. After takeoff, engine failure forces the pilot to make a water landing. This is the story. Everyone survived the initial impact, but with no safety briefing provided, language barriers, no coordinated evacuation procedure, the aircraft sank in 3 minutes and only 17 people survived. Holy cow. Now they found that plane. That's a heavy story. This is Tony Katz today. I'm assuming it'll be on the Discovery Channel because Discovery was actually part of it. The Expedition Unknown, Kathleen. So you are asking the question. Yes, one will assume. One will assume it will be on Discovery. Right there. Crazy. That is a crazy story. You know, there was a flight. If you want to know how I got the gig, It's a weird way. It's a weird story. Malaysia Airlines flight 370. So here's a quick timeline about my life. Interesting story. I had come out to Indianapolis to audition for Afternoon Drive. I'd been doing some work on KFTK, which was owned by the same company at the time, and the KFTK is in St. Louis. They knew about me. I said, I'll fly myself out to audition for 3 days, and I did 3 days in the afternoons. The audition went fine. I don't think it went great. It went fine. I didn't get the gig. They went with local. They actually went with the chicks on the right, if you know Mock and Daisy. And they went with them, and they were also local. Understandable. But I had lost out on a gig and needed the gig, and I had also damaged my arm, and I had surgery. It was a very weird thing. So about a month later, when I was pretty much lucid, the surgery went bad. It was rough. I called the program director, a guy by the name of David Wood, and I said, I understand why you didn't take me. I think you like what I do, and you're running reruns of a guy at night from 9 to midnight. How about this? Put me on instead. Use me, and I'll do it for free. I mean, I've got a lot of stories about how I got into this world. If you've ever seen behind me, I've got those pictures behind me, right? Those are actually World War I Bond posters. Well, on this side right here, those are my dress shoes from back in the day when I would do any event I could and talk to anybody I could. And if you actually are ever here in the studio, there's holes in every one of those shoes. I worn them through, but I couldn't afford new shoes. And that's what it took to get here. I keep them everywhere. Anything new space, studio space, they're there. And so I started doing 9 p.m. to midnight on WIBC in Indianapolis. And I'm on the air. I think this was a Friday. And this flight goes missing. I've been on for a couple months, maybe. This flight goes missing. And I start talking about this flight. And the running the board, Ashley was running the board at the time. She was very good at research. And so we're like, okay, look this up. Let's figure this out. We turn into the whole show. It was fascinating. What do you mean a flight goes missing? What can go missing in today's world? How does anything just go off a radar, disappear? What are you talking about? Weirdly enough, the program director who didn't hire me, David Wood, was listening. And he liked how I handled the breaking news. And that's when he decided if he can do breaking news like that, he can do mornings. And it was because of that I got offered the morning show. It's just weird. How in the world does like that moment, and it sticks out. When I did the audition for the afternoon show, I thought it went fine. I thought it went well. It was okay. And it was like the last two segments of the third day. And a guy who is a legend in the news department at WIBC by the name of Stan Lear, great voice. I don't think we saw eye to eye politically, but great voice. He's doing the news, and he goes, "Tony, do you like sports? Do you like basketball? Do you like basketball?" And I said, "Stan, yeah, I do." And it was the announcement, producer Landon, that Brad Stevens was leaving the Butler University Bulldogs to head over to the Boston Celtics. And so I'm like, I didn't know who Brad Stevens was. I wasn't from Indianapolis. I had no idea. So I'm like, whoa. Walk me back through this. Again, breaking news. And I grab people out of the hallway. I'm like, I forget who. He's now with the track, Landon. Tall guy, goofy looking dude. Mike Thompson, unbelievably kind man. I've just forgot his name right now. I apologize. Was very, very helpful in those days. Mike Thompson, super kind, decent dude. Like, get in here. And I brought another guy in whose name I don't remember. And we're talking about it. I'm getting the feedback from them. I'm looking things up and I'm able to do it on the fly. And it was that same program director, David Wood, who was like, that was really interesting. And I think that's what got him to say yes to me doing nights. And then it was the Malaysian flight that got me the gig. So weird. So weird. What connects with people? The fact that I was, breaking down things politically or giving good commentary. It's amazing what hits people, what moves people, what goes with people, what works with them. Anyway, that missing flight, finding that plane made me think of the Malaysia flight, which was weirdly the thing that started my career. I don't know what to say about that. Just a fact. Appreciate you guys being here. We've got more show at WIBC.com. Be sure to check that out. We live stream every Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. That's what we do. We live stream every Monday through Friday at not at 2 p.m., at noon. What do you mean 2 p.m., Tony? What's wrong with you? So be sure to be back on YouTube, on Rumble, on Twitter X, on Facebook. Go to Tony Katz Radio on Facebook, Tony Katz everywhere else, Twitter X, Rumble, YouTube. Subscribe, like, do all the things. I appreciate you guys. Can't thank you enough for being here. Tell all your friends, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Take care.